Hello, my name is Tylluan. I'm a solitary pagan witch, I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. And today's little chat is about ancient history, sacred spaces, how it all links up together. Because you see, one of the problems when you're a solitary pagan witch, as I am, is where do you go for your spirituality? You don't go to church, you don't go to temple, you don't have a mosque or a synagogue, you don't have anywhere that you go apart from out in nature. And nature is such a vast thing. I mean, we could say that nature is the sea, nature is the mountains, the wild moors, peat bogs, the garden. So when we talk about nature, it's a very different experience depending on where we happen to be. And let's face it, an awful lot of us live in urban areas. All that sort of snorting you heard then was Homer. I think he's having a bad dream. Yes, he is. Right. So, first of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we have to offer as solitaries. What we have to offer is ourselves and the history that we carry within us. Now, this idea of carrying history within us is very important. And a lot of solitaries, it just misses us because there's nobody to tell us. So what I'm saying is this. We think of history in school as being learning all the dates. Certainly in my day, it was literally learn the dates. And I was very good at learning by rote, so I didn't have any problem with it. But it didn't mean I really understood what I was learning about. I was learning about kings, queens, the odd general, sometimes a bishop, archbishop, something like that, battles. That was it. Where do our ancestors fit into all this? Well, mostly they don't. You know, we get a quick walk-on part in history and it's gone, that's it, that's our life over with. What was your role in history? What did my ancestors do? Well, I know what some of them did, but I don't know all of them. Mostly, if you research your family tree, they're just names and dates. You don't know much about them unless you get really lucky. But supposing, and there is a school of thought that says that actually we carry history inside us. We're like a vessel, if you think of it, and we carry this history around inside us. We mightn't even know it, we mightn't even understand it, but it's there. And there are all these images, all these theories, all these things that are bursting to be noticed, desperate for us to take notice of them. And of course we don't all the time. And I wrote myself some notes here because it's quite a complex thing, you know. What we're trying to do, we have our own history, each one of us, right? And the problem is that we've been told for so long that we don't matter. We are the little people. We are not the generals or the kings or the queens. They're the important ones. But actually, no. It's the people who make the world, who build the buildings, who build the cities, who sail the ships, who farm the land. It's ordinary little unknown people. You know, a lot of the time we don't even know where they're buried. Think about it. And yet, really, we are the history. They are just names and dates. Experts tell us we don't matter, but we do. So when we start looking around us and we're looking at things like the ancient past and sacred space, we are in fact connecting with our ancestors. And I mean, when you think of ancestors, you know, if you do your family tree, you might be lucky to get back 200 years. You'd be very lucky to get back 500 years. It would be impossible to get back 1,000 years, although I have heard people tell me that they can trace their lineage back 45,000 years, which is nonsense. Absolute bunkum. So we're not trying to trace individuals, we're tracing a pattern. Where do things come from? You know, what do we feel drawn towards? And we do. These things are inside us. They influence the sort of sacred space we feel attracted to. Now, I'll give you an example. I can remember there was this little spot where there was like a bank and this tree root. Now, I was always drawn to this wretched tree root, you know. I don't know why. It wasn't particularly pretty. There were no nice rabbit burrows by it. There were no particularly pretty plants by it, but I was drawn to it. It was a kind of something that spoke to me. Whether it was perhaps at some time in the past, it reminded me perhaps of a world tree in a ritual. You know, the world tree is quite a widespread idea, this great tree that has its roots in the earth and its arms going up to heaven, and you know, it's quite, well, I mean, you find it all over the world, the Far East, Iceland, Northern Europe, everywhere. So was it something like that? Was that what was speaking to me, the roots of the tree? It was something that I remembered. We don't know, but that is how we find. We go out, and even if we happen to be just in a car park, you may find something, a little patch of earth, a little patch of sky, something. And I'll tell you a very strange thing. You know, when you start looking for these things, they come looking for us. And not far from where I live, somebody has put a very large white cross made of stones up on the mountainside. It's very, very big, and every so often it gets vandalised and everybody comes together and puts it back. It hasn't been there all that long. I think it's less than 15 years, but it's become something of a feature. And then, not so far away, I noticed last year when I was on the bus going past, and I could see this cross on the mountainside, and I have very mixed feelings about that being put up there like that. But nearby was the head of like a stag, and that was nobody put it there. It had grown that way in the vegetation. There was a very light patch of vegetation with horns and the skull shape looking at you, and it's been there over a year now. Perhaps because I needed to see something that I felt was pagan up on that mountainside. That is what sacred space is. If you start looking for it, it will start looking for you, and it will find you. You mustn't be frightened when it does. You've invited it, you've started looking. It's no good having hysterics when it suddenly finds you. And you open your eyes one day and it's like, wow, what was that? Anyway, it's food for thought. These are little chats, the sort of things we get chatting about if you come round to my house and have a cup of tea. And thank you very much for listening. I have appreciated it. And I do appreciate the comments too. Goodbye.